Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. In the news, the pardon flurry is like lake effect snow in Chicago, a big deal at the White House right now. And here are some of the headlines. First, only about 2 in 10 Americans approve of President Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son, Hunter. After earlier promising that he would do no such thing, according to a poll, the Associated Press said that only 2 out of 10, only 20% of Americans think the president had the right to pardon his son. And President Joe Biden weighs whether to issue preemptive pardons to people President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to seek retribution against and even prosecute. Experts said he has the power to do so under the Constitution. Our first news item. In his first network TV interview since his presidential victory, Donald Trump vowed to use on the first day of his second office term as president of the United States the power to pardon people who were convicted of their roles in the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. by a pro-Trump mob, even considering clemency for more than 900 people who pleaded guilty. He's also said members of the House Select Committee investigating January 6th, namely co-chairs Congressman Benny Thompson, Rep. Liz Cheney, should be punished for what they did. Honestly, he said, they should go to jail. Trump said on MSNBC's Meet the Press that he's coming for them. Under Section 2, called the Commander-in-Chief Clause, Article 2, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, President of the United States shall have the power, not may, shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States except in cases of impeachment. According to Jeffrey Crouch, assistant professor of American politics at American University and author of the book, The Presidential Pardon Power, he does not need to wait until someone is charged, tried, or convicted. There's actually much more history to that. We will get into that this evening. During his first term, Trump granted pardons to his former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, who was convicted in special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, his former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, who was convicted of bank and tax fraud, and his longtime friend and one-time campaign advisor, Roger Stone, who was convicted of lying to Congress, witness tampering, and obstruction of a proceeding also stemming from the Russian election interference inquiry. Make no mistake about it. Pardons are in the air, and right now they're being distributed to family and friends. But there are millions of Americans who have paid their debt to society and deserve the right to consideration for pardons under the Constitution. My special guest today is former Congresswoman Corrine Brown. She's an American former politician who served as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Florida from 1993 to 2017. In other words, she served there my entire 17 years in Congress. She's one of my best friends and a wonderful person. She really was, in a real sense, the mother of Black caucus members in the Congress. She's a member of the Democratic Party, and after court-ordered redistricting significantly changed her district and a federal felony conviction for corruption, Brown was defeated in 2016 primary by Al Lawson, who went on to win Brown's former congressional seat. In terms of interest groups, Brown's ratings held high percentages. She was the go-to lady for pro-choice groups such as the Florida Alliance for Planned Parenthood affiliates, positions for reproductive rights, for which she had a 100% rating. NARAL, Pro-Choice America, positions 100%. National Family Planning and Reproductive Health Association, House of Representatives score 100%. Brown overall held high percentage rates from other issue groups involving animal and wildlife issues, senior and social security issues, labor, education, and welfare and poverty. Just no one in the Congress of the United States fought for and sought the elimination of poverty for all Americans, quite like Congresswoman Corrine Brown. My other guest is Carlisle Holder, a proven strategic and innovative executive leader with a career spanning 37 years in the criminal justice system. Over his 27 plus years as a distinguished service member of the United States Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, he served 23 of those years as supervisor, manager, and executive. He was the chief executive officer, that is, a warden, for 12 years. He attained the rank of senior executive service, the highest level one can achieve through federal service. He's a veteran of the United States Marine and attended Allen Hancock School, New York University, where he majored in criminal justice, and he also graduated of the Dale Carnegie and Aspen Leadership School and Institute. Mr. Holder was appointed to the board of directors of the Prison Rehabilitative Industries and Diversified Enterprises and currently serves as its vice chair. He also serves on the leadership council of the National Small Business Association. He's a life member and inductee of the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice. He's on the Wall of Fame and served as its 12th president. Today, we're going to talk about the president's pardon power, not just his power to forgive family and friends in the case of Donald Trump, but the unfettered power in the Constitution of the United States to forgive millions of men and women, yes, black, yes, brown, yes, poor, yes, white, male and female, who did their time in a federal prison and never reoffended. They just matriculated back into society without the forgiveness given to them under the Constitution of the United States. To hire a pardon lawyer for this special consideration, it costs about $250,000 to $500,000 to pay a Washington, D.C. lawyer to pursue the pardon. And there's no guarantee that you will even receive it. That's just how precious the idea of new life is under our Constitution. The book, The Pardon Power, this is actually my version of the book from prison. When this book was sent to me as an inmate in a federal prison, I couldn't help but read this language, and I want to share it with you before we come forward. Thus conferred, the pardon is unlimited, with the impeachment exception stated. It extends to every offense known to the law and may be exercised at any time after its commission, either before legal proceedings are taken or during their pendency or after conviction and judgment. This power of the president is not subject to legislative control. Congress can neither limit the effect of his pardon nor exclude from its exercise any class of offenders. The benign prerogative of mercy reposed in him cannot be fettered by any legislative restrictions. A pardon reaches both the punishment prescribed for the offense and the guilt of the offender. And when the pardon is full, like the one Richard Nixon got, like the one Hunter Biden got, it releases the punishment, now listen to this language, and blots out the existence of guilt, so that in the eyes of the law, the offender is as innocent as if he had never committed the offense in the first place. If granted before conviction, it prevents any of the penalties and disabilities, including felonization, consequent upon conviction, from attaching. If granted after conviction, it removes the penalties and disabilities and restores him to all of his civil rights. It makes him, listen to this, as if it were a new man and gives him a new credit and capacity. When I come back, Congresswoman Corinne Brown and Carlisle Holder, when we come forward.
Police bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. Are Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
New holiday deals just dropped at Lowe's. Get up to 30% off select major appliances, plus an additional $75 off for every $1,000 you spend on select kitchen major appliances from brands like Whirlpool, KitchenAid, Amana, and Maytag. And don't miss big savings on DeWalt. Save $80 on a DeWalt 20-volt max 2-tool combo kit. Was $229, now just $149. Lowe's knows deals. Offers valid 12/5 through 12/11. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that 3 out of 4 adults in the United States have a high risk factor for severe COVID-19. And Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Welcome back. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Pardon. The power to start your life over. Before your offense, Richard Nixon was never charged. During your offense, once you've been charged. After your offense, to avoid felonization, to avoid having a F on your forehead, to avoid filling and checking the box, the restoration of your voting rights. In the case of non-violent offenders, the ability to hunt again. The pardon power. It's more than the individual and about the individual who seeks it. It is the redemption of the nation that says you've paid your debt to society. You've done what the judge said do. You've done what the jury said do. The American people now have the power to forgive you and essentially tell you to go and sin or offend no more. On this question, sin is somewhat relative. In church on Sunday morning, we can go to our pastors because we have private sins that we want to share and bring to the altar of God. But in a civilized society, a society that has in its constitution a civil religion, it is impractical for every single offender to go to all 350 million Americans one at a time, and every time they get up to speak or shake someone's hand or register to vote, they have to be reminded one more time of something they did 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Or in the case of a man that I took on one of our radio shows, whose call I took, Larry. Larry got tickets to the White House 40 years after he committed an offense for he and his 13-year-old daughter. They got to the White House, went through the screening process after waiting in line for 3.5 hours to get in, and the Secret Service pulled him aside after his daughter went through the magnetometer. He said, "Have a seat right here, Mr. Larry." And Mr. Larry said, "What seems to be the problem?" They said when they did a background check on your tour of the White House by tickets that were given to you by your United States congressman, it came up that 40 years ago you committed an offense against the United States. And unfortunately, we cannot allow you into the White House. Larry called into the radio program and he said, on that day, I decided not to vote for Democrats again. He then found himself as a father in a very unique position. He had to then explain to his 13-year-old daughter why he could not take a tour of the White House. He had no expectations or plans of ever sharing with his daughter, his child, what he had done 40 years ago. But the Biden administration reminded him what he had done 40 years ago and would not let him come into the White House. Mayor Bill Campbell, Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, Marcus Garvey, Harold Washington, and the names of millions of Americans who did not achieve what Harold achieved or did not stand for what Marcus Garvey stood for are in need of this precious gift called pardon, a new life. You see, part of the problem is the vernacular. Today, we don't say pardon me. We say my bad. Maybe we say forgive me. Maybe we say it's going to be all right. I didn't mean to bump into you. But on September 17th, 1787, the Founding Fathers used quite a different language. Pardon. Pardon me. Forgive me. They assumed that the language would be as commonly used today so that when a person asks for a pardon, people understood that they were asking for forgiveness. For what I did for 17 years as a congressman, serving the people of the 2nd Congressional District, I made mistakes. I decided after my incarceration that I would champion the cause of millions of men and women who don't have my platform to advocate for their forgiveness. 77 million of them. From the high and mighty in our society, President Joe Biden is considering the pardon of Donald Trump, a recommendation by, surprisingly, Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina. President Joe Biden is considering pardoning people who haven't even been convicted or even indicted of a crime. Preemptive pardons. In a real sense, every pardon is preemptive. It preempts something. It can preempt the indictment. It can preempt the conviction. It can preempt the service of the sentence. But for 77 million Americans who paid their debt to society, they need the pardon to preempt and end felonization, to stop the process of felonization. I'm honored that my colleague, Congresswoman Corinne Brown, one of my closest and dearest friends in the Congress of the United States, is joining me as my guest in this hour, and Carlisle Holder. Together, they have an amazing story to tell. Why Carlisle Holder? He was her warden. Welcome to Jesse Jackson. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Hi, Congresswoman. How are you? Warden Holder, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Okay, we may be having a technical difficulty, but it will be worked out shortly. With that, there are millions of people in our churches on Sunday mornings who bring their sins, their offenses to the altar, and they ask Jesus for forgiveness. They ask the pastor to pray for him or them or her in their families because they can't find a job, because they've been turned away, because they don't want to talk about it anymore. And it requires a unique courage to be able to say to all of the American people that I'm sorry and forgive me. I don't know what Joe Biden's going to do for any of us. I don't know if Donald Trump will ever consider our lives. What I do know is that in the structure of the Constitution of the United States, the founding fathers placed something in the Constitution called the finger of God. The Constitution was written on September 17th, 1787. 30 days later, in a New York newspaper, Alexander Hamilton said, and I quote, "For my part, I sincerely esteem the Constitution, a system which without the finger of God never could have been devised upon such a diversity of interests." The only thing that they agreed on at the Constitutional Convention was the finger of God. They didn't agree on the status of the Negro, 3/5 of a human being. They did not agree that women could vote. That didn't happen until the 19th Amendment. In the Federalist Papers, written in 1787 and 1788, in Federalist number 37, James Madison says, "It is impossible for a man of pious reflection not to perceive in the Constitution a finger of that almighty hand which is signally responsible for the rebellion." Hamilton saw the finger of God in the Constitution because he was there when they put it there. James Madison saw the finger of God in the Constitution because, as the father of the Constitution, guess what? He was there. 3 or 4 years later, in 1791, the Bill of Rights were added to the Constitution, but it does not escape the fact that before individual rights were added to the Constitution, every single American was entitled on September 17th, 1787, to the grace of God. Of course, the citizenship rights of African Americans would require a 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolishing slavery. And then the addition of the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause, and the Naturalized Citizens Clause of the Constitution. These two amendments, when read together, extended the grace of God and the protection of God from the Republic to all of the American people. What is before us? We now know that Hunter Biden, who was pardoned, did not have to wait, according to the Department of Justice, to fill out a pardon application 5 years after you serve your sentence. They told me to wait. They told Congresswoman Corinne Brown to wait 5 more years. It was unnecessary because the process after conviction and after serving sentences is another process completely created that is unconstitutional by the Department of Justice. No doubt about it. The bus drivers in our community who've paid their debt to society deserve the forgiveness of the American people. The teachers who had to explain that they made a mistake on their taxes and or made a mistake somewhere in their lives or found themselves at a low moment in their lives, but then went on to make up their minds, change from their wicked ways, and do their very best, like me and my wicked ways, to seek redemption from the American people. I don't know if Joe Biden can hear us now, but had the pardon power been exercised months ago for men and women who've been waiting, there is no doubt in my mind that in the borderline states that we lost in the last election, we didn't lose it because we didn't have joy. We lost it because people lost faith in the Constitution. They lost faith in America. The restoration of their faith is our ministry. To bring them back into the fold of the understanding that we are the only nation 2,000 years after the birth, in fact, 1,787 years after the birth and crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, to be able on earth as it is in heaven to grant new life to its people. Our solemn plea is that new life not just be granted to Hunter Biden and to the few. We ask the President of the United States on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward to grant the forgiveness to everyone.
Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. FBI Director Christopher Wray is resigning amid Republican pressure to step down before President-elect Trump could replace him with Kash Patel. Appointed by Trump in 2017, Wray said his decision avoids further turmoil and plans to stay through Biden's term. Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee is investigating racist vandalism at the National Pan-Hellenic Council Plaza, a space for historically Black sororities and fraternities to face with hateful messages over Thanksgiving break. A Black teacher is suing Beverly Hills High, alleging ignored racism since 2022. Attorney Brad Gage accuses the school of discrimination, harassment, retaliation, and threats, despite the district's claim it investigated the reports. And Knoxville, Tennessee is mourning poet Nikki Giovanni, who passed away at 81. A Black arts movement icon, she earned 7 NAACP Image Awards and was named one of Oprah's 25 living legends. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Lincoln Heights, a crash is wrapping up on the 5 northbound past Mission. The 3 right lanes have been blocked, and it looks like things are starting to get moving again, but we're seeing a terrible drive all the way from Garfield out of Commerce. Southbound delays for the 5, loading up out of Griffith Park from the 134 freeway. That drive remains slow ahead all the way back to the 605. In Long Beach, 405 northbound Lakewood Boulevard. A wreck here has just been cleared to the right shoulder. But overall slowing is loading up, getting away from Bolsa Chica Road. And the drive in Irvine is tough on the 5 northbound, leaving the 133 freeway delays all the way to Harbor in Anaheim. The southbound side of the 5 in Anaheim, right at Catella, 3 right lanes are blocked due to a crash, delays off of the 91.
Love your baby's teeth. Before that first tooth, wipe their gums with a washcloth. When those first teeth come in, use a soft toothbrush and just a tidbit of toothpaste and take them to the dentist by their first birthday. Learn more at loveyourbabysteeth.com. Brought to you by the LA County Department of Public Health.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Even though Kawhi Leonard is practicing again with the Clippers, it's understandable why the team is not in a hurry to increase his practice activity. Leonard has yet to be cleared for full contact workouts or scrimmaging. The Clippers want to make sure Leonard's right knee is completely healthy before that happens. The last time Leonard tried to scrimmage with USA Basketball last summer in Vegas, he was sent home because his knee was bothering him. Leonard has not played in a game since April, Game 3 in the first round of the NBA playoffs against Dallas. Congrats to former NBA players Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady. They were approved by the NFL to become non-controlling minority owners with the Buffalo Bills. South Carolina State quarterback Eric Phoenix was voted HBCU National Player of the Year. Phoenix led South Carolina State to a 9-2 record and threw for 2,460 yards and 20 touchdowns. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on.
Here come the drums. At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah,
gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need.
Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Award based on 2024 models. For J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do
Let's play something, Grandma.
became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug.
Welcome back. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. We are having some major technical difficulties on our show today. But I do have some more breaking news. According to the GRIO, the Biden White House is poised to announce historic preemptive pardons as pressure mounts. The Biden administration is reportedly poised to announce historic preemptive pardons as pressure mounts in the White House. The collaboration between the General Counsel's Office and the Department of Justice's Office of the Pardon Attorney suggests and signals a significant development. What could this mean for those affected and for the political landscape? In my opinion, it's only a factor of the scale of preemptive pardons. Again, every pardon is preemptive. The pardon issued to Richard Nixon in 1974 by Gerald R. Ford was a preemptive pardon. The preemptive pardon kept Richard Nixon from getting indicted. It kept him from going to trial. It kept him from being determined by a jury of his peers whether he was innocent or guilty. It saved the nation millions of dollars and public shame that would have been broadcast around the world. And the answer to that question was the preemptive pardon. The dates on the pardon for Richard Nixon said 1969 to 1974. The only other time a similar pardon had been issued was for Hunter Biden, which has the dates of the offense on it. What kind of pardons am I fighting for? The full, absolute, complete pardon for men and women who've paid their debt to society. And I don't know anyone who deserves one more than Congresswoman Corinne Brown. Representative Brown, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
All right. Listen, first of all, let me just say, God is good all the time.
Yes, he is.
And before we talk about anything, I've got to tell you what your daddy taught me from the beginning. He used to say, no matter what the question, the answer is what you want to talk about.
I appreciate that, and I know that very well. Congresswoman, will you share with our listeners around the country your career in the Congress and what you did for your congressional district and for the people of Florida?
Well, first of all, let's just go back to the fact that in 1992, Congresswoman Corrine Brown sued the state of Florida for 4 seats. The compromise was 3, and that's how L.C. Hastings, Carrie Meeks, and Corrine Brown went to the United States Congress. And Florida had not sent an African American to Congress in 129 years.
You can't say that on this show. You can't say that enough. Congresswoman Corrine Brown is a historic figure in her state and in our country. Say that again from the moment you filed your lawsuit.
In 1992, Congresswoman Corrine Brown, along with other organizations, the Lawyers Committee, the NAACP, anyway, I sued the state of Florida for 4 seats. The compromise was 3, and that's how L.C. Hastings, Carrie Meeks, and Corrine Brown went to the United States Congress.
Let me just add, I want to add a little bit of context to that now.
Okay.
This is the state that Democrats can't win in a presidential election. Corrine Brown sued the state, squozed the juice out of the state, and got 3 black folk seats drawn in the state so that we could serve in Congress. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it is a real problem because now we don't have an opportunity in the area that I represented to even elect a Democrat.
Wow.
We have had a Democrat representing this area, Charlie Bennett, for 44 years. And now you cannot even elect a Democrat, much less a black, getting the opportunity to serve. You know, Lawton Childs would say that dog don't hunt.
That's true.
It just don't hunt. So, I mean, the idea that we cannot even elect a Democrat in our area is just it's unacceptable.
I want to stick a pin in that. I want to stick a pin in that for a second, Congresswoman, because I really want you to work with our listeners because this is intellectual talk radio. So the details of these struggles that may be specific to Florida, they really impact our understanding of history. Now, let's be real clear that Jimmy Lee Jackson is killed in Marion, Alabama for trying to register his mother to vote. James Orange is almost lynched, and that's how Jimmy Lee Jackson got shot by the state police. Martin Luther King Jr., Ralph Abernathy, and Andrew Young came to his funeral, preached his funeral. John Lewis was there and decided to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge where they met police officers. The Selma campaign would lead to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And on the basis of the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Corrine Brown in Florida would then go to federal court and say, African Americans in the state of Florida represent this percentage of the population. But the Democrats in the state legislature and the Republicans in the state legislature, they cut this state up in a way that we can never win. So you sued them. And they had to draw 3 congressional districts so we could have some voices in Congress to speak to the issues of our community.
Absolutely. And we had not sent anyone to Congress in 129 years. And that was the only other one came from Gainesville, Florida. And I wanted to know what happened to him. He went on to Florida A&M, and he was instrumental in starting the School of Agriculture.
Now,
So,
I want to add that right there, a little point, because I'm so honored to spend this time with you. It's been a minute since we've really had a chance to chat.
yes.
Corinne Brown then comes to Congress, and she meets with the Congressional Black Caucus, and she teaches Black members of Congress how to sue Democrats and Republicans to draw congressional districts so we could get more Negroes in Congress.
Yes, absolutely. And we need to be there.
Corinne, I've got 1 minute before. I've got 1 minute
thing.
before. Okay, I'm sorry.
If you are not at the table, you're on the menu.
Oh, wow.
Say that again.
Say that one more time, Corinne.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
This is the kind of leadership and wisdom that we got in the Congressional Black Caucus when I was a member there from 1995 to 2012. It was the moral authority of Corinne Brown that made the difference. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. When we return and when we come forward, we are going to hear more wisdom on why we must expand democracy from Congresswoman Corinne Brown.
To bring you up to speed on the news of the day, you're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ever have one of those days where your gut just feels blah?
Ugh, yes.
Occasional bloating or gas could be signs that your gut is out of balance, but Align Probiotic can help. Align 24/7 Digestive Support is a daily use probiotic with a unique strain to help relieve occasional digestive issues. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand. So when you feel the signs, it's time to try Align. Align Probiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
So this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green?
Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. I am joined by my good friend, my great friend, the distinguished gentlelady from Florida. Congresswoman, you were sharing with us before the break your storied career. And I want to make this really, really clear. It's Corinne Brown's leadership in the Black Caucus that encourages us to focus, along with John Lewis, obviously, on the Voting Rights Act and to expand our numbers. Today, there's 60 Blacks in Congress because African Americans in Congress think about representation and how these lines are drawn. And that's in part because of the leadership of Corinne Brown. Corinne?
Yes, yes, yes. And I've got to tell you that when you're in the room, you need to know why you're in the room, because we're there to make a difference. And what are you talking about? Well, the Veterans Committee. I mean, you had 22 plus veterans committing suicide. We needed to give them the resources. We needed to work with them as far as education, medication. I mean, that was just one aspect of it. We went through the foreclosure crisis. We had thousands of people losing their homes, members. I made sure that we had workshops so that we could bring those people in and renegotiate those loans with the banks. And I, every year, had a job fair that I had at least 10,000 people showing up, jobs. And it was very interesting because, you know, some of the young fellas like to walk with the pants hanging down. I said, no. When you come, you no. My staff said, you better stop that. But listen, let me tell you, I said, come ready to go to work.
So let me offer a little bit of historical context to what Sister Brown just said and break it down for you. So before and during the Civil War, African Americans, Abraham Lincoln had to resolve in his mind the idea that the colored man, at the insistence of Frederick Douglass and abolitionists, ought to be able to fight for his own freedom. And even when Lincoln leaned into the idea of letting African Americans fight, there was this question as to whether or not they could wear the uniform, to don the buckle, U.S., to wear the blue, to carry a rifle, God forbid, and to actually be disciplined soldiers. This is really the African American community, our community's first interaction with the Department of Army, of the Navy, of the Marines, and then with the passage of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution and the end of the American Civil War, the establishment of the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, there's still a long struggle to desegregate the armed services. They were separate and unequal, just like the society. There's some great letters that have been written by Civil War veterans who would say, Mr. Lincoln, can we please we bleed like everybody else. Can we please get paid when everybody else gets paid? We got families at home that deserve money too. This scene is elevated in the movie Glory at the very beginning when Lincoln, I believe, is in the battlefield at Antietam. Now, when Corinne Brown is on the Veteran Affairs Committee. Not only is she authorizing it, but Black veterans are still stuck in a separate and unequal system. So her voice becomes critically important when we roll the history all the way forward to that process. Congresswoman?
Oh, goodness. Let me tell you, I've got to tell you one of the greatest accomplishments I feel that I ever made was getting the Marines, the Moffett Point Marines, the gold medal. They had been trying to get it for over 50 years. 50 years, there was not, everybody knew about the Tuskegee Airmen and different areas, but no one knew about the Marines. And let me tell you something, Marines are boots on the ground.
That's right.
They're not, I mean, it's hand-to-hand combat. And I was so very happy to be able to get the Moffett Point Marines the gold medal so that we had a huge ceremony and they came up and they was able to get their gold medal. Oh, that was the highlight of my career, one of them.
Well, it's just the beginning of a new career because, like me and like others of us, we're fighting for a second life for everybody, a new life. We make mistakes. We get it. And I'm just proud that that the role that you played in our country, that you played on behalf of all Americans, not just the people of Florida, your specific role in the Congressional Black Caucus to inspire us when some of us wanted to give up the fight. We had voices like Corinne Brown reminding us that if we fight, we may win. If we don't fight, we're guaranteed to lose. But if we fight, we've got a chance at winning. And this is the kind of spirit that still wants to serve, that still wants to give back. And that's different than, quite frankly, some of the young people, we need this bridge between the knowledge that Corinne Brown has and our historic struggle, even amongst our XYZs and the millennials and even my generation, I'm 60 years old, are still fighting to learn more and more and more, particularly in this devastating era. Congresswoman, share with us your thoughts on the historic campaign of Kamala Harris.
I personally think that she ran a very, very good campaign. It was a short campaign, and I really feel that if you look at the news, or if you listen to the radio, if you are calling my name over and over again, that's what I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember that you just kept calling Corrine, Corrine, Corrine. You could have said she was fat, she was pretty, she was great. But the key is that you've got to make sure that you tell your story. You got to tell your story.
Congresswoman, can I add this? Your lawsuit, and we've got about 3 minutes before the break. Your lawsuit led to the election of Congresswoman Carrie Meeks and former Judge Alcee Hastings.
That's correct.
Two historic figures in the Congress of the United States themselves. Share with us your thoughts on your previous colleagues.
It was so wonderful. My class. Oh, my class. You know, Jim Clyburn was in my class. We had the best class, and we had one of the largest classes. And I'm going to send you a picture of my classmates. I have that. I want you to see them. Oh, but the key is how we work together.
Yes.
It was one team, one fight. One of the things I remember when Haiti had a major problem, we worked and organized the community and sent 16 tractor trailers full of food and water to Haiti. I'm concerned about what's going on as we speak today. It's just like it's on the back burner. And you have to know the history of Haiti and the United States and what all they did for us,
Absolutely.
Americans. Most people don't know.
We
They
had
don't
Dr.
know.
Ron Daniels. We had Dr. Ron Daniels on our show just earlier in the week or just last week to discuss the history of Haiti all the way up to the absurdity of how they were used in the most recent campaign. So yes, and because you were in Florida, you're also by definition part of international policy. I mean, it's the Haitians who come to Florida. It's the Cubans who come to Florida. It's the Caribbean who come to Florida. And your district begins to reflect that as well. Congresswoman Corinne Brown, I absolutely want you to know that you're always welcome on our show. We're wishing you the very best in your future. I'm going to do everything I can to continue to advocate for you. I'm going to continue to advocate for us. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.